That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Gaia, I believe it's the sophomore film directed by Jaco Bouwer, which premiered at the South by Southwest 2021 Film Festival in the Midnight section and is being released June 18th, 2021, courtesy of Neon.
Do you know Jaco's first film?
No, I think it was a film play. He's in a lot of television in South Africa. And this was written by Tertius Kapp.
I like these names.
Who he's also adapted a play of that person's. I'm not sure if that's the film or on stage.
I thought this film was very good.
Yes, you were kind of reluctant to watch it.
Not for any particular reason, except my energy's low lately. But my testosterone levels are fine, so I don't know. Anyway, the basic story is it revolves around a woman named Gabi, who's played by
Monique Rockman,
who I liked.
I did too.
She was giving me like Padma Lachki, is that her name? From Top Chef?
Yeah, a couple times, she's very beautiful. A couple times I thought of Octomom.
Oh no. Well, I can see how you would think that.
Like from when she looks particularly
distressed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gabi is a park ranger. So the film opens with her and her boss Winston on a boat going down the river, and she's operating a drone. So we get some really cool visuals from this drone when she comes upon a person who has like a tribal look, like wearing a loincloth covered in dirt and clay. And she stops the drone right in front of him to stare at him, which I thought was funny. Mm-hmm. And then the drone gets taken down. And right before that, her boss had commented on the amount of money that was spent on this drone. Mm-hmm. So of course they go to look for it. They split up. Winston gets hemmed up, and Gabi, while she's out there, thinks she sees something and is startled, so she starts running, and she comes upon a booby trap and gets like a wooden spear impaled through her foot. So the individual she saw and another person basically like take her back to safety, back to their cabin. Mm-hmm. And we find out that it's two men, Barend and Stefan. Mm-hmm. Barend is Stefan's dad. Mm-hmm. They appear to be like, I don't know, like late 30s and like 18 or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the plot synopsis says survivalists, like they live out there. Barend didn't always live out there. The mother of Stefan died from lung cancer, we're told. And Barend says that they took one last trip out here when she got sick because she liked it. Mm-hmm. We also know that Barend and his wife are both scientists.
Chemical engineers and plant pathologists, to be specific. And I think notably they go back to the spot where Stefan was conceived.
That's right. So to wrap it up, Barend experienced because Gaia is like Mother Nature.
Yeah, it's from Greek mythology. That's Earth, the Mother Earth who gave birth to the Titans, etc.
He experiences something in this forest, and we see it. It's very psychedelic. The trees are moving. We also learn that the dead mom has turned into like a tree. So she's kind of providing assistance to her family. But Mother Earth is also attacking humans. And it manifests in they become blind and they get covered in like moss and mushrooms and shit.
Kind of like that very real fungus that takes over insects and turns them into zombies, basically.
Right. So Gabi, while it's not clear to me how long she's there, a few days maybe, with the duo.
Whatever concoctions they're putting on her heals real quick.
Yeah. She has an affection for Stefan, the son, and wants to save him because she believes his dad is crazy. So she absconds with him early one morning, and they're making their way back to the city when they bump into Barend. And he convinces his son to come back. So Gabi's like, well, I'm on my way. She sees one of these like blind nature creatures and is running. And while that's happening, Barend is going to do it, like now he's saying it's time for the pilgrimage, which means he's going to kill his son and like give him to the earth.
In that very biblical kind of like, is it Abraham and Isaac in the Bible when he's going to sacrifice his son?
And right as he's about to do it, Gabi stops him. So now Barend is done. Gabi and Stefan go back to their house, the cabin, and she starts to turn. Because prior to that, they had given her like an antidote, which we can talk about, but she didn't have access to it. So she's feeling the effects of Mother Nature in that area. So she's turning into this like mold fungus person. And
Swamp Thing.
We also prior to that bump into Winston and see that he's turned into that and he kills himself. And then we have Gabi asking Stefan to put her out of her misery. And he does. But right before he does it, she says like
go out into the world.
Go out into the world. So the end of the film.
Carpe diem.
Yeah, so the end of the film is Stefan in the city. So we see him looking upon the like metropolitan area, and then we see him having lunch. He doesn't finish his lunch, and when he walks away, we see that his food turns to mold very quickly. So we would assume that he's now going to infect the metropolis.
Right.
The end. So this is one of those eco horror films. We reviewed 2 of them within the past year. In the Earth.
From Ben Wheatley, yeah.
And The Beach House. And I thought all of those were decent. I think this one is probably, better acting and better cinematography.
Yes, I like this film better than both of those. The Beach House there is something kind of missing, which we can get into.
With this film.
With this film.
Yeah.
But I do like it better than In the Earth, and I think it is more artistically made than something like The Beach House. I also thought of the film Bacurau, the Brazilian film we reviewed that played at Cannes in 2019.
Because they had drones?
With Udo Kier. Well, just that... yes, that...
I'm just kidding. I don't remember that film except I really liked the lady in it.
Sonia Braga.
Yeah.
And Udo Kier. I think you could also describe this as kind of a theological horror film. Probably a little too... it programmed in midnight at South by Southwest. I don't think this is a very good midnight film. I think it's more of a think piece that is beautifully shot and well acted.
A lot of these eco horror films are the same. Like humans have trashed Earth, so now Earth is trashing people. So it's similar, but this film, it doesn't necessarily, there aren't a lot of thrills or suspense. It's a pretty slow burn.
It's a very slow burn. I think that especially in the second act, gets kind of muddled of like going back and forth from the cabin and lots of conversations that I feel could have been condensed.
I think the issue for me with why there's no tension is because the relationship Barend has to the area he's in, like, Mother Earth and his little lot, he feels very comfortable and safe. Or he seems that way. Like he and his son don't seem afraid. Well, they're just well prepared. So as the audience, I also felt like, well, we're gonna be all right.
Well, so the dead mother has become this tree that Barend communicates with still, and basically
he provides her offerings.
Yes, and she provides him with things that counteract the effects of this fungus,
which look like little mushrooms that he ingests. He and his son ingest, and it protects them from the effects of Mother Nature.
And the son steals from to give to Gabi as well, because he's become enamored with her.
Right.
I also thought of Midsummer, again, because it does that upside down shot, like the beginning of Midsummer as well.
That was my first note. I really like the opening of the film, which is like the upside down.
Sure.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like how the film looks. I also like the sound editing. I thought it was very effective. There's a scene where Gabi shows Stefan her phone and she's showing him pictures. I thought that was cute because I think Stefan's a cute little guy and then he's sort of acting naive, right?
Well, his mind is blown. He's never seen a phone or
right,
pictures.
So he looks so bright-eyed and then he comes across a picture of... Also, the pictures in Gabi's phone, they're a little thoughty. Like, and also her hair is very... Like, at one point she has like balayage. I mean, not balayage, like an ombre. And at one point in one picture she has like red hair. So, and then with like thigh-high boots I thought I saw. And there's another picture of her standing like next to like an old-timey truck. and Stefan thinks it's a monster. I thought that was funny. There's also Winston, before he meets his demise, we see that they've set up cameras in the forest, and we see him inserting an SD card. So towards the end of the film, Gabi grabs one of the SD cards and then finally inserts it into her phone to see what was on the camera, and we see that it's captured images of these creatures, which I think will get me to probably what confused me about the film, or was like a weak spot, is Gabi's understanding of what's happening, because she's experiencing the effects of what's going on, but she seems very reluctant to, because when she asks Barend to like explain to her, and then he gets mad, like, I don't have to explain shit to you, and she's like, well, I want to understand, and then he goes off on her about how like we as humans have just trashed this earth and we don't understand what we have. I didn't get the sense that I thought she was trying to manipulate him, or do you think that she believed?
I don't think she really believed, because what she ends up goading Stefan into doing is, suggestive of the alliteration of the human race.
But she's experiencing it. Like Gabi throughout has like, which I think is the most unsettling part of the film that creeped me out, is she wakes up to having like foliage,
kind of like potato sprouts,
all growing from her body, and then when she tries to pull them, it's like open wounds. That was very upsetting.
Yeah, that's some good body horror.
Yeah, it was. So she's experiencing that, and she's seen things. So the fact that she didn't necessarily believe, because she's even attacked at one point with Stefan and Barend in their cabin, and she still didn't seem to be fully on board with what's happening. She does say she wants to stay, but I thought that was more because she's trying to figure out a way to
acquire Stefan. And there are arguments with the father about that. Like, if she takes you, she's going to enslave you. Yeah. Which kind of, it's not what culture wants to do to us, but it is what it does.
Another good scene is so after she asks Barend to like help her understand, he basically gets her high. Another thing is in the beginning of the film, when Barend and Stefan are out in the woods and they're picking like mushrooms, the mushrooms emit like this like dust, spores that get them high, so they wear like face coverings, which I thought was funny, because I don't know when this was filmed.
So if they shot for a week, I read, and then COVID shut production down, so I think that the pandemic actually bolstered what was going on with this narrative.
Well, because when Stefan ends up in the city, like as he's overlooking the skyline to walk in, he puts his mask on, which I thought was really slick, because it didn't feel like, because of COVID. It felt like, he's used to not being exposed to the spores. But anyway, they get Gabi high so she can see what's going on. I thought that scene was very good. Like the visuals and the sound.
Shot by Jorrie van der Walt. And then I thought Carel Nel, who's playing Barend, who's in Raised by Wolves, was he's looking like one step away from being that character played by Denis Lavant. I think Mr. Oscar from Holy Motors.
I don't know. I thought he was handsome, but he's very thin, which is appropriate for the role.
Yes.
My last two notes are, there are one too many shots of Stefan kneeling in front of his dad. I think most of the time shirtless. It looks a little funny to me, but and then lastly,
he's assuming the position of the supplicant.
Inappropriate. And then in the end, when Stefan's in the city, he's eating. My first thought was, who bought him food?
Yeah, I don't know if it's implied she gave him what money she had, or...
I don't know. I mean, whatever. But also, I thought it was funny that we see his leftovers, and it looks like he doesn't like pickles. This fool was eating grub worms and, like, rats, but he won't eat pickles.
But they weren't preserving food at all, so maybe that makes sense.
No, I just thought it was cute. And then I also thought, like, that boy he's going to end up on OnlyFans somewhere. Trying to make
before he turns into fungus.
Someone's gonna get him.
I think it's got some pretty great subtext, even though in a lot of familiar ways. I like a lot of the dialogue, especially from Barend. Again, I think some of that could have been condensed a little bit. He has a really good line about, she asks, "Is this your god you're worshiping?" And he scoffs and said that she's been around long before the apes were dreaming of gods and goddesses. Which I really like, which getting down to, we have all these manufactured religions when what we should have been worshiping is what gave us sustenance, the earth, which of course, going back to the title, but simple but significant.
What would you give this film?
3.5.
I would give it 3.5 out of 5 as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.